The world has seen many psychopaths, mass murderers, serial killers, and anarchists. However, not every one of them is remembered by the history, mainly because their crimes against humanity are suppressed by someone or committed even violent murders. Today, we're going to revisit the life of London's gay slayer, a wannabe serial killer named Colin Ireland, who made the leap from morbid daydreaming to gruesome murders, living a conscious, deliberate choice of lifestyle. While his final body count was not as crazy as other prolific killers from Britain like Bruce Lee, Dennis Nilsen, and Peter Sutcliffe. However, he still deserves a mention for his sheer determination he displayed while pursuing his lethal lifestyle. He was born an illegitimate child of a newsagent's assistant. He was raised by his mother and his grandparents in Dartford, Kent. Recalling his early days, he was a thin, lanky little runt who always got the worst of every situation he has ever been in. Still in his teens, he started to get into trouble of his own making, logging convictions for theft, burglary, and blackmail. He served 2 terms in Borstal Reformatory, after which he was rejected in a bid to join the French Foreign Legion. No longer a runt at 6'2", Ireland had developed a taste for paramilitary garb and survivalist training, frequently camping out on the Essex moors. Twice married and divorced, he volunteered to manage a homeless shelter in London. But an explosive temper cost him the job in December 1992. A colleague at the shelter recalled that Colin was troubled, frustrated, and didn't know what to do with his life. The answer, as Ireland divined it, was serial murder. His choice of victims was gay sadomasochists, and not because of religious reasons, but because they would be an easy target, freely submitting to a stranger and were likely to arouse less sympathy from public. So he sat to begin on his mission. Filling a knapsack with his murder gear, rope, gloves, a knife, a change of clothing, in case he got bloody, Ireland found his first victim, 45-year-old theater director, choreographer Peter Walker, at a London gay bar called the Colin. Invited back to Walker's flat, Ireland tied Walker to his bed, beat and whipped him, then killed him. Walker's body was still undiscovered 2 days later, on March 5, 1993, when Ireland telephoned a London tabloid newspaper, The Sun, to say he was concerned about the dead man's dogs, left unattended in the flat. He also said, "It was my New Year's resolution to murder a human being." Police had no evidence of any substance, and their manhunt was further hampered by a March 6 judicial ruling that acts of sadomasochistic sex were illegal for consenting British adults. Potential victims were thus extremely reluctant to cooperate with authorities, and autopsy results were inconclusive as to whether Walker's death had been deliberate or accidental. On balance, police knew little more than that the dead man was HIV positive. In late May, Ireland returned to the Colin and picked up 37-year-old librarian Christopher Dunn. Dunn's body, bound and gagged, nude but for a leather bondage harness, was found at his northeast London home on May 30th, police recording his death as a probable accident. No link was made to Walker's death 3 months earlier. The accident theory took a hit soon after Dunn's death when cash was removed from his bank account, the thief using Dunn's ATM card. A few days later, police received an anonymous call from Dunn's killer, taunting them for their failure to link the 2 crimes. On June 7th, authorities found the corpse of 35-year-old Perry Bradley III, an American businessman and closet homosexual, in his Kensington apartment. Once again, the victim was naked and bound, apparently strangled, his credit cards missing. A plastic doll was left atop the body, posed to simulate a sex act. When the killer telephoned police again days later, he told them, "I did the American. You've got some leads on my identity from clues at the scene." Detectives were inclined to disagree, but they worried about the anonymous caller's stated desire to become a serial killer. He had studied the FBI manual for details of technique and the minimum required body count. "I've got the book," he said. "I know how many you have to do." By the time Perry Bradley's corpse was found, Ireland later told authorities he realized that he was losing control. "I was reaching a point where one was just accelerating," he said. "It was just speeding up, getting far worse. It was just like a roller coaster effect." His next anonymous call to police was almost a plea for detectives to catch him. "Are you still interested in the death of Pete Walker?" he asked. "Why have you stopped the investigation? Doesn't the death of a homosexual man mean anything?" "I will do another. I have always dreamed of doing the perfect murder." A few hours later, still on June 7th, Ireland was back at the Colquhoun, picking up 33-year-old Andrew Collier. Upon returning to the victim's flat, Ireland handcuffed and tied him to the bed, then strangled Collier. He also choked the life from Collier's cat, arranging its carcass atop Collier's corpse with the tip of its tail in Collier's mouth. After finishing up with his dirty work, he was cleaning up the crime scene but made a vital mistake. He left one fingerprint on the window pane, which was picked by the authorities. On June 15th, Ireland met Emmanuel Spittery, a 41-year-old Maltese chef, and went back to Spittery's southeast London flat for sex. Once there, he bound and strangled his victim, then spent the night watching television, eating Spittery's food. Ireland set fire to the apartment before he left, but the flames went out after causing only minor damage. Police were unaware of the crime when he telephoned them the next day, asking, "Have you found the body in southeast London yet? And the fire?" By that time, authorities were finally prepared to admit they had a serial killer at large in London. On July 19, 1993, Ireland approached his solicitor, admitting that he was the man in the photo, claiming that Spittery was alive and his home with another identified man when they parted company. Police soon matched his fingerprint to the Collier crime scene, but Ireland hung tough until August 19th when he finally crumbled. In the words of one investigator, and confessed to all 5 homicides. On December 20th, after pleading guilty on all counts, he was sentenced to 5 terms of life imprisonment. The judge who sentenced him declared, "To take one human life is an outrage. To take 5 is carnage. In my view, it is absolutely clear you should never be released." But Ireland was not finished killing yet, at least, if rumors emanating from Wakefield Prison, Yorkshire, are accurate. The stories, officially unconfirmed at this writing, claim that Ireland strangled his cellmate, a convicted child killer, but no charges were filed against him, since he was already serving life without parole, and no harsher penalty is available under British law. 2 weeks after the reported killing, Ireland was transferred to maximum security lodgings at Whitemoor Prison, Cambridgeshire, where he is presumably kept under closer watch, with a private cell of his own. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more great content.